Right. Happy New Year, everybody. Can you hear me loudly and clearly? I'm about to upset some people on this show. Thank fuck I'm doing this show at, what time is it? 11:30 at night. Probably get about 9 people listening live. Probably a good thing. Because, we're going to be upsetting a few people on this show. We're doing what we're doing best, upsetting people. Is YouTube boxing taking over? Yes, Dench. Dench is saying it's all good. Yeah, is the sound definitely good? Is the mic definitely clear? Are we Chris Andre clear on the mic? I'm just giving it one more adjustment, yeah, before I go in on some of these boxing fans. And we'll be going in on boxers tonight as well. But I tell you what, I do want to go in on some of these boxing fans that are sort of criticising this YouTube boxing, isn't it? It seems kind of quite avant-garde, doesn't it, to criticise YouTube boxing, don't it? What do you guys think? Seems quite avant-garde. It seems quite in fashion, isn't it? You know, see all these broads walking around town with those brown Louis Vuitton bags that look like shit. Have you guys seen that? Have you guys seen it? Seen it when you walk down the high street? You get these broads walking down the high street wearing a purple top, pink trousers, green shoes, and a brown Louis Vuitton bag, innit? Thinking, what the fuck are you wearing that for? Like, this shit don't even match. Like, just ultra, it's what's in fashion. It's in fashion to slag off YouTubers, isn't it? So people are saying shit like at the minute, yes, Yo King, big up Yo King, big up Simon, big up everybody in the chat. If you get your comments in, I will read them out. Felix Mitchell, Happy New Year, Ultra, where have you been? Depressed. And the state of British boxing. Listen, if you had to cover the state of British boxing, particularly in that back end of 2022, would you not be depressed as well? Would you not be depressed if you had to cover the state of British boxing in the back end of 2022? You've got a man out here who's allegedly blaming chicken eggs and then is basically blaming Punani for failing or for having adverse findings in two VADA tests in the space of 2 months. And people are coming to me with stories about fellatio, fertility treatments, chicken eggs. And you're telling me if you had to sit through and listen to that shit for the best part of fucking 6 months, you think you wouldn't be depressed either if you had to sit and listen to this shit? Oh, people, I'm not joking. Going on IFL TV videos, yeah, and seeing people dropping links to studies and saying, oh my God, can you see? Look, you can get clomid contamination from eggs. You can get clomid contamination from chicken eggs. And he did say that he was eating quite a few eggs in a run-up. This explains it all. Or the other one, the new one that's coming out is, his missus was on fertility treatment and they were trying for a kid and he's, in an act of fellatio, he's accidentally ingested clomid. Oh, that explains everything. That explains everything. You have to fucking listen to this shit and cover this shit. I think it'd be enough to make anybody want to want to stand on the ledge, innit? You can't blame me, innit? Stand on the fucking ledge. It's enough to make anybody, you know, think about jumping in front of a train, innit? Every time I'm at Clapham Junction, yeah? Every time I'm at Clapham Junction, about to hop on that 9:05 to get to work, you know, I'm just looking at these train tracks and I'm thinking, shit, what do I do? If I jump in front of this train, I ain't got to hear no more bullshit about resumes. I ain't got to hear no more bullshit about chicken eggs. I ain't got to hear no more bullshit about fellatio. I ain't got to hear no more bullshit about fertility drugs. You know, I don't have to hear any more bullshit about stacked undercards. I can just fucking jump right in front of this train now and I can just end it all. It does cross your mind, doesn't it? It crosses your mind occasionally, innit? Let's talk about this, right? Guys, it's the first show of the new year. I've kind of lied because I was supposed to do this with Ingram, but I will do the next show with Ingram. And Joe Gallagher, I will be apologising to you on the next show. Joe, I know you do listen from time to time. I will be apologising to you on the next show. I've got that whole thing set up, Joe Gallagher. So we'll talk about that another time. But let's talk about the state of British boxing. As Yo King says, it's bleak. It's fucking bleak. Let's talk about these moronic fans. This is what's going to get me in trouble. So listen, if you'd like to be a part of the chat, please feel free to subscribe. If you'd like to hit the like button, I'd really appreciate that. First show of the new year. We've got 28 people in here. As you can see, we're starting the new year at rock bottom. I can remember during the heights of the Conor Ben scandal, we had like nearly 800 people in here. Now we're down to 26. So you can see here right now, yeah, Ultratech's hitting rock bottom. So if you want to help a brother out and hit the like button, that would be absolutely fantastic. First and foremost, is YouTube boxing taking over? If you listen to some of the stuff that I've said in the past, I've said stuff like this for years, that in boxing, they are not making the fights that people want to see, right? One thing that pro wrestling has taught me, right? Just think about the sport of pro wrestling in its peak. The peak of pro sports, the peak of professional wrestling was around 1990 to around 1993, 94. Actually, that's probably wrong. I think the peak of pro wrestling was around 1987 to around 1993-ish. And then it had a big boom in the late 90s with Stone Cold Steve Austin, right? But if you think about some of the biggest draws in wrestling, Hulk Hogan, Andre the Giant, Ultimate Warrior, The Rock, who's now the world's biggest male movie star, Stone Cold Steve Austin, right? 60 and 70,000 people turned up in arenas to watch a bunch of men in underpants pretend to fight each other. Press 1 if you agree with me. Press 2 if you disagree. Am I not lying? During the peak of professional wrestling, so let's look at stuff like Hogan and Andre WrestleMania. Let's look at Ultimate Warrior versus Hulk Hogan. Let's look at The Rock versus Stone Cold Steve Austin. Did 50, 60 and 70,000 people not turn up to watch a bunch of 40-year-old men in their underpants pretend to hit each other? Did they not turn up and spend millions of pounds in merchandise to watch a bunch of old, bald men in underpants stamp on the floor while they punch to make a punching sound? Did that not happen, yes or no? It happened, didn't it? People watched 300-pound grown men get in the ring, stamping on the floor while they punched to try and make a punching sound effect. And people sat and watched that. WCW, during its peak, one of the most watched programs anywhere in America during its peak. Why is that? Why did that happen? Why did so many people turn up to watch pretend fights? Everybody knew the fights were pretend, right? Everybody knew. Everybody knew that Papo Shango, yeah, wasn't really a voodoo magician. Innit? Well, a few of us got fooled, right? But for the most part, innit, all of us knew, innit, like, Papa Shango. Do you remember Papa Shango, innit? Did anybody think this guy, real name Charles White, yeah? Did anybody really think this guy was actually a voodoo magician who was summoning demons? We all knew it was bullshit, right? Did we not, innit? We all knew it was bullshit, yeah? We all knew Undertaker wasn't really in contact with the dead. Is that true or false? Press 1 if you agree, press 2 if you disagree. Look, let me show you a picture of Undertaker with the urn and Paul Bearer, yeah? But we all knew, innit, that Undertaker wasn't actually in contact with the dead. Right? But we all tuned in every single fucking week to watch this garbage. It's true, innit? We all tuned in every single week to watch it. Why is that? Because people will watch a fight, even a pretend fight, between anybody if they care about the people that are involved. Press 7 if you agree with me on that. Press 8 if you disagree. People will watch and tune in to any old fight between anybody if they care about the outcome. If you make people care about the outcome, whether it's fake, whether it's real, whether it's staged, whether it's not staged, whether it's sports entertainment, whether it's not, if you make people care about the outcome of a fight, they're going to tune in and watch in, right? Do people truly care about the outcome of some of the absolute shower of shite That comes on my British TV screen every night, yeah, during prime time. I keep telling people. Have you not seen the hints that I've been given in this show? Look at what was on TV prime time 9:30, 10, 15 years ago. Just have a look. Go and look at the Radio Times. Go and grab a copy of the Radio Times off your grandma from 20 years ago, right? Look at ITV and BBC and look at the kind of stuff they were showing, yeah? Between the hours of 7 and 10 on a Saturday night, they were showing prime time television. Must watch television. Whether you like it or not, flipping 10, 15, 20 million people used to turn up and watch Simon Cowell with his trousers all the way up to his chin, judging people on X Factor. Am I lying or am I not lying? Did people not tune in their millions to watch Cilla Black and Blind Date? Did people not tune in their millions to watch Les Dennis and Family Fortunes? 7 till 10 p.m. at night was for box office TV. I turned on my, and I'm in, obviously, I'm all in with Queensberry Promotions, right? I'm all in with Queensberry Promotions, but I turned on, what was that Queensberry Promotions show? We were waiting for the main event. I turned on the TV at 9:30 in the night. I'm seeing Sam Noakes on my TV screen. Sam Noakes is on my TV screen at 9. Felix Mitchell, Gladiators. Listen, look at this stuff, man. This was like unmissable TV. Look at this stuff that they used to put on. Gladiators. Was Gladiators staged a bit? Abso-fucking-lutely, it was a bit of staging going on. Did people give a shit? No. Was it a bunch of, jacked up 40-year-old men pretending to hit each other with foam sticks? Am I not lying? Press 1 if you agree. How many millions of people tuned in to watch a bunch of jacked up 40-year-olds pretend to kill each other with plastic rubber sticks? I turned on my TV the other day at 9:30 on BT Sport. I'm seeing Sam Noakes in there. People don't care about the outcomes of these kind of fights. That's the bottom line of it. Promoters, at the end of the day, aren't putting on the fights that people care about. People don't care about the outcome of these fights. And that's on all promoters. That's not just an Eddie Hearn, Frank Warren thing. That's on all promoters in a minute. Fights are being put on and nobody gives a monkey's who wins. What's the consequence? What's the consequence? In all honesty, Jet was the closest thing to perfection other than Mrs. Ultra that I've ever seen in her prime. Yoki. Now I'm watching Anthony Yard, yeah? Anthony Yard getting in a ring with some plumber. What's the outcome of Anthony Yard winning that fight by knockout in 2 rounds? What's the outcome of it? What's the outcome? What is the outcome? Nobody gives a shit. What's the outcome, innit? What's the outcome? David Adelaide, who I love to bits. I love David Adelaide. Putting David Adelaide in the ring against guys who run the kebab shop, yeah, part-time on a weekend. What's the consequence of these fights or not? And don't even get me started on Matchroom, the home of TBA. You don't even know who the fucking opponent is until like half an hour before the fucking fight starts anyway. What is going on with Matchroom and TBA? Matchroom, the home of TBA. Frank Smith is sitting backstage, isn't he, with one of them fucking bingo raffle tombola things, isn't he? Look. Honestly, that's how they're running these cars down to Matchroom now. Frank Smith is sitting in the back here with a fucking tombola machine. And he's just drawing names out of a hat. TBA, TBA, TBA. Just drawing names out of a fucking hat, isn't he? Pathetic. So, first and foremost, the problem is with promoters because promoters aren't putting on the fights that people want to watch. But let me get to the core point here. Shall I tell you who I think's really to blame for a lot of this? I think the people that are to blame quite a bit for this are the fans. Da fans, as I call them. Da fans of boxing. I've said this for years. I think I'm one of the only channels to ever blame boxing fans for the lack of matchups in boxing. Da fans. Why are da fans the problem? Why are the fans more than ever with the age of social media a big... Because back in the day, right, nobody really used to listen to da fans, innit? True or false? Until Eddie Hearn came along, right? Until Eddie Hearn came along and started using Twitter to promote himself, right? And started using IFL TV to promote himself and started making himself accessible to the fans, right? I'm not blaming Eddie Hearn, but I'm just saying, he was the first promoter I ever saw that was talking directly to the fans, giving the fans an insight, yeah, into how promotion works. You know, he's telling the fans the blow by blow. He's telling the fans, I sent an email to this guy. We've got received contracts, terms. You know, giving the fans, yeah, more of an insight into how shows are actually run than anybody's ever done before. Really, I think the only thing the fans should be concerned with is the fighting itself, right? But you see these days now, look at what goes on social media. It's a plethora, isn't it, of penny pinchers, isn't it? It's a bunch of broke people who are worrying about how much money millionaires make. Oh my God, your millionaire, your favourite millionaire only did XYZ ticket sales. Oh my God, my favourite millionaire did more ticket sales than your favourite millionaire. Oh my favourite millionaire's got more followers on Twitter than my favourite millionaire's the face of boxing. My favourite millionaire, all while you're sitting in a room broke. So look at what's going on in the last with social media. But I tell you what, now that the fans are as close to boxing promotions as they ever have been, now that it looks like the promoters are directly interacting with and listening to the fans, why is that such a problem? I'll tell you why. Because for the simple reason of this, a loss shouldn't define you. A loss shouldn't be the end of your career. Whenever a fighter loses, boxing fans shoot themselves in the foot. As soon as a boxer loses, he's shit. He's rubbish. He's garbage. He was never good in the first place. And that goes for all of these fighters, you know. When Anthony Joshua, I thought Anthony Joshua was excellent in the rematch against Usyk. Hurt Usyk as bad as I've ever seen him hurt, to be honest. Did a great job against Usyk. Probably didn't do enough to win, but did a fantastic job. He's rubbish. He's a bum. He was never good in the first place. He's a scrub. He's a fraud. And these muppets are tweeting this crap to the promoters. And the promoters are listening to these idiots, aren't they? I've seen it for years. The promoters are sitting on Twitter listening to these idiots. And they're thinking, well, gosh, these guys are absolutely tearing my fighter down. I tell you what I'm going to do. I don't want him to lose again. So I'm going to match him as carefully as possible. So we don't have to go through that again, don't we? Because boxing fans seem to think a loss is the end of the world, innit? Don't they? Press 1 if you agree, press 2 if you disagree. What's the incentive for these promoters? Big up Tony's reviews. What's the incentive for these promoters to match up their stars and put these stars in big fights and put these stars in tricky fights and match them as difficultly as possible? When all the fans do every time they lose is go, oh, he's a bum, he's a scrub, he's crap, he's rubbish, he was never good, he was always rubbish. And then they go on social media. Have you seen the abuse these idiots send to the fighters? Have you seen the stuff that some of the fighters get from these muppets? They're sending them abuse or private messages full of abuse. They're abusing the family of the fighters I've seen now. They're sending abuse about the fighter. I've seen racist abuse get sent out about fighters. I've seen fighters' messages on social media attacking fighters' families. I've seen people send messages on social media saying they wish certain fighters died. Where's the incentive? Where's the incentive for fighters to want to fight each other when they know that the backlash is just huge? That's how I feel about it. Do I have all the answers? No. Am I wrong? Maybe I'm wrong. But I'm just being honest with you. That's my humble opinion, right? About where professional boxing is going wrong. The fan base is incredibly immature and talks about incredibly immature topics. It spends more time talking about ticket sales, resumes, and pay-per-view than the actual effing boxing. It's so bad. I don't even think some of these individuals even enjoy the actual boxing. I think they actually enjoy. I think they actually enjoy talking about all the other stuff other than the actual effing fighting. Which is why you never see them in boxing gyms. But we'll save that one for another day. This is why you never see them in boxing gyms. Because they don't actually like the sport of boxing. Yeah, Yoking, stadiums. Oh, who's selling out? Oh, he sold out a stadium. Oh my God, who gives a shit? Do you know what? See these YouTubers? They don't give a shit about any of this, do they? And do you know what the other thing is? And here's the biggest thing as well, where the fans have shot themselves in the foot. And I've said this a million times. Every single time we get a boxer come along and show a bit of personality, do the fans shoot him down, yes or no? Certainly in the UK. Press 1 if you agree, press 2 if you disagree. Prince Patel, a prime example. What did this guy do? Listen, what did he do that was so bad? Can somebody tell me? What? Just seriously, what has Prince Patel ever done in the last decade? That means he should receive the abuse that he receives on a daily basis. Some of which I'm pretty sure is racial. Why? What has Ahara Davis done in the last 10 years to warrant some of the abuse that... Do you know what? I remember the Christmas when the Ahara Davis, Tommy Cole thing ticked off. And the messages that people were sending Ahara Davis. Racist abuse. The man was being sent sickening racist abuse openly on Twitter. Those accounts are still active, by the way. The promoter, his own promoter, said absolutely nothing about it. Do you know how sick that is? His promoter literally sat and watched while people were sending him messages saying they hope he died and this about his family and racist abuse and all sorts. For what? What's he ever done to receive that? Because he believes in himself. Is that the reason why? Because he's a bit arrogant. What? Because he believes in himself. What? Because these two come out and say, yeah, I believe I'm going to win my fight. Because they come out and say, yeah, I believe I'm the best. Oh, but they're not humble. Have you heard this shit? I've said it a million times before. Oh, but they're not humble, Ultra. These guys need to be humble. What the fuck are you talking about? Do you know how bad boxing's got in this country? Anybody who's been... Tony's reviews will know this, because Tony's reviews has been in and out of gyms his whole life. Tony, you've been in better gyms than me. You're an actual amateur fighter. Tony, let me ask you directly. Do fighters have egos even in the gym at amateur level? Some of the most confident, egotistical people I have ever met in my life are amateur and white collar boxers. Not even in a bad way. There's one in particular who fights with a very, very well-known coach who was a former world title contender who fought on Matchroom cards. All right, he's now a trainer. Some of you smart ones might be able to narrow that down. So, fought for a world title on a Matchroom card in a fight of the year contender. Very, very nearly won. He's now a trainer in the London area. I have a friend who's a coach with him. He is one of the most self-confident people I've ever met in my whole life. Like, I've never met anybody in my life with that level of confidence in themselves. And it's not even that he puts people down or says anything bad about other people. He's just like, this guy just exudes confidence. Like, I've never seen anything like it in my entire life. Like I've seen, and I spoke to another guy who's an amateur boxer as well last week. I had a little light spar with him. He's just coming back from a broken arm. So we had a little light spar one-handed. One of the most confident people I've ever met. What do we do when we get these confident fighters that come along? These fighters that want to entertain. What do? We tear them down. We tear them down. Oh, no. Let's DM him and let's send him racist abuse. Why are we doing that? Because he's too confident. He's too confident. He believes he's going to win the fight. He believes in his own ability. He believes his own talent. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to find this guy on Twitter. I'm going to send him some messages and do this and that. And what they do is they dissuade fighters in the UK from showing their true personality. And what have we got now in the UK? We've got a bunch of boring clones who all parrot the same bullshit. Press 1 if you agree, press 2 if you disagree. All this humble stuff. Did you ever believe Anthony Joshua was humble? Were you stupid enough to believe that Anthony Joshua was humble? Did you ever believe that nonsense? Stay hungry, stay humble. Do you remember that absolute nonsense? He's one of the most physically gifted people on the entire planet. Anthony Joshua is literally a 0.5% male. He's good looking, he's 6'5", he's carved out of stone, and he probably has a 30-inch you know what. And you really believe that he was sitting at home in his mum's bedroom down in South London being humble, and you people believed into that? Stay hungry, stay humble. And then when the real AJ came out at the end of the Usyk fight, the real AJ came out at the end of the I can't believe he behaves like that. I'm shocked. I didn't know Anthony Joshua was like that. Do you remember this BS? I can't believe Anthony Joshua was like that. I thought he was humble. I can't believe he would do them things against Usyk. I can't believe they couldn't believe Anthony Joshua got upset after the Usyk fight and was challenging people ringside to have a fight. Do you remember AJ walking back to the ring after his loss against Usyk, telling people to come and have a straightener with him? Yeah, what? Can we go now then? Let's go then. Let's go. What? Do you remember that? That's what AJ was doing. I can't believe AJ was doing that. I always believed he was humble. How stupid are these individuals, though? How stupid are these individuals? Again, he's a 6'5" man carved out of absolute stone with one of the biggest punches in the history of British boxing. Probably able to sleep with any woman he chooses in the entirety of the UK. And these Muppets are running around in these t-shirts. Team Joshua, stay humble. Stay humble. I like AJ. He's well humble. Look at this crap. Never let success get to your head. And never let your failures get to your heart. I fucking believe in this shit. I love AJ because he's humble. I don't like confident people. But it's an act. These fighters are acting humble. Anybody who's been to the gym and spent more than 20 seconds with some of these fighters know that they are some of the biggest fucking narcissists on the face of the planet. Tony's reviews. Am I lying or am I not lying? Anybody who spent time in the gym around some of these pro fighters or some of these guys that fight a lot, they are some of the most narcissistic people you could ever spend your time with. They love themselves to the nth degree. But they try to convince you that they're staying humble. Because if they show them real self and be them real confident personality, you're going to start sending them messages and sending abusive DMs to them. Now, YouTube boxing, they don't care about that stuff. They embrace it in YouTube boxing. They embrace the characters. It's simple. Look at them. Look at all the different characters they got. They got Jake Paul, Logan Paul, KSI. Look at Salt Pappy. Look at these guys. I'm being serious, right? If you just look back at WWE and look at the people that we were watching, all the types of people we were watching, do you remember? So look, some people liked Ultimate Warrior, yeah? Big, jacked up guy, carved out of stone, right? Carved out of stone, right? But do you know who sold a lot of tickets back in the day? The complete opposite, Ric Flair, the Nature Boy, who I never liked. But look at Ric Flair. The complete opposite of Ultimate Warrior. The complete opposite. Semi-flabby, looks 150 years old. Hardly got any muscle on him. Looks like he trains part-time at a fitness first. But he had charisma level 100. Ultimate Warrior, chiseled out of stone, but had no charisma. Do you see what I'm saying? They had all types of different characters. What are we seeing now on YouTube boxing? Yo, we've got a guy from the Philippines who's an incredible fighter. We've got a guy from the Philippines who looks like your average geeky nerd. He looks like he should be doing Twitch streams on Call of Duty. But he's actually one of the most gifted and talented YouTube fighters, or the most gifted and most talented YouTube fighter ever, in my opinion. Incredibly gifted fighter in this guy. If you like big chiseled guys, if you like big chiseled Aryan type dudes, you've got Logan Paul, who's an incredible athlete. Anybody who's seen him in WWE and seen the work he puts in WWE, I mean, look at him. Look at the persona he's got. Look at the persona he's carved for himself. Do you ever think that if we had a fighter come along with this kind of persona in British boxing, do you ever think that we would allow that to stand? No, because the fans destroy anybody who's got any kind of personality, don't they? They destroy anybody who's got any kind of personality, and then they complain when we don't have any personalities in boxing. So, in my opinion, the fans have got a lot to answer for. That's just my humble opinion. What's Tony saying? Tony's saying, I haven't fought in about 10 years and I still believe that I can beat AJ with enough training time. If you don't have an ego, you're probably not going far in boxing. I've never met a serious fighter that didn't believe they could win at anything. I don't care who it was. I don't care if it was who could open a door first. Exactly. Been in boxing gyms, like these are some of the most competitive, narcissistic people I've ever seen. And what it comes down to, the problem with a lot of these boxing fans, and the problem with a lot of these hardcore boxing fans is, and I've said this a million times, online and offline. Press 7 if you agree with me with this, and press 8 if you disagree. Problem with a lot of these hardcore boxing fans is a lot of these hardcore boxing fans are insecure. They're insecure. Because in real life, they're not confident. Because in real life, they just do, your average 9-to-5 desk job, photocopying their ass and sending it to the secretary somewhere, or harassing some poor girl somewhere who's not interested in them, you know what I mean? Having a fucking cigarette outside with the boss, do you know what I mean? And trying to, suck up to them for a pay rise. Because these guys aren't confident in themselves and their own abilities, they take mortal offense when they come across somebody that's a lot more confident than themselves. And I think that's the root cause issue that goes on with a lot of these hardcore fans, and why a lot of these hardcore boxing fans, in my opinion, are kind of stopping. In a way, it's not all their fault, but I feel like they're stopping the sport from going with their attitude. Is it all the fault of the fans? No, of course not. Promoters have a lot to answer for. Nobody slagged off promoters on his show more than me. Nobody. But that's the root cause of the issue. You're not a confident person, so you don't like people who are confident. So when you see people who are confident, and when you see people who believe in themselves, and when you see people who can actually back it up, you get kind of a little bit shook. So what do? Let's start bringing that person down. Press 1 if you agree with me, press 2 if you disagree. And then it turns into, oh, I love him, he's humble. Go and look at IFL TV videos. Oh, he's so humble. Oh, he's a good guy. Oh, he's so great. They glorify all the fighters. They glorify all these cookie cutter fighters The ones that come to the ring, oh, I don't know if I'm going to win tonight. It's going to be tough, but I'll give it a go. They love those kind of dudes, don't they? Oh, you know, I'll give it a go. Oh, I'll go in there. I'll give it a go. It's going to be tough, but I'm giving my all. You know, dare to be great. You know, I'm going to go in there. I'm going to dare to be great, you know. Go in there. I'll give it my all, you know. But I don't know what will happen. At the end of the day, you know, I'm just happy with the outcome. Oh, you know, I'm just happy to be here. I'm just happy to be here, you know, at the end of the day. And then you go and look in the IFL TV comment section. Oh my God, this guy's incredible. Wow, I love this guy. He's so humble. Here, let me give you a name. Do you want me to give you the name? The ultimate now. I don't want to be disrespectful because I like this guy. But is there ever a bigger explanation than the cult of Dave Allen? Was the cult of Dave Allen not about that? Oh my God, look at this guy, Dave. He's amazing. He's just like one of us, he is. Oh my God, he don't really believe in himself. He just turn up. He don't even really train, really. He don't even really train. He turns up in the ring fat and then he gets punched in the head a few times. Oh, Big Dave's like one of us. He spends more time on Babe Station than he does training. Oh, he's wicked. Oh, I'll go and buy a ticket to see Dave Allen. He's wicked. I love him. Am I right? Yeah. Dave from next door. The truth, isn't it? And I like Dave Allen, but that's the truth, isn't it? Why do people gravitate to this guy so much? Nice guy. Great guy. But why do they gravitate to him? Because he's just like us, isn't he, Dave? He's just like one of us. He don't really believe in himself. He's got a few problems with depression. And yeah, he's just going in there and he's hoping for the best. They don't see guys like him as a threat, do they? To themselves, innit? They don't look at guys like Dave Allen don't make these hardcore boxing fans uncomfortable, do they? Because they don't have to look at themselves in the mirror and say, fuck, why am I not as confident as this guy? Shit, I wish I could believe in myself like this guy could. Fuck, I wish I could get in a gym. Or I wish I could go in front of 20,000 people and fight just like he could. Truth, innit? That's what these pro boxing fans promote. That's what these hardcore boxing fans are promoting. And these are the same guys that are blaming all the ills of the sport on everybody else. But this is the house that you built. This is the house that you built. You didn't want fighters to come out. You spend all day slagging fighters off. You spend every waking moment of your day on Twitter complaining about who's getting what purse. You spend every moment of the day complaining about how many pay-per-views were sold. You can spend every moment of the day complaining about ticket sales and TV deals, revenues and profits. You spend all day moaning about that. Can I ask you a question? Let me know if I'm right or wrong. You know these YouTube fans? Do they make a big emphasis on pay-per-view sales and ticket numbers? Ellie Brook fought this weekend. I'm no fan of Ellie Brook, right? Ellie Brook fought this weekend on the undercard. Did any of Ellie Brook's fans going, yeah, but look how many tickets Ellie Brook sells. Oh my God, she sells all these tickets. Oh, how many pay-per-views did Ellie Brook sell? How many pay-per-views? Oh my God, did they sell out the stadium? Oh, but look, I've got this picture here and it shows there were empty seats, so the stadium wasn't 100% full. Do you ever hear those kind of stupid conversations when the YouTube boxing is on? Do you ever hear those stupid conversations? People spending literally the whole day arguing about if a stadium's empty or if there are seats or if all the seats are full. Do you ever hear any of this stupidity during YouTube fights? No, you don't. You don't hear that stupid shit. They're like, I like this person. I like this person. I'm interested in these people fighting because I like this personality. And I just want to see the fucking outcome. And as a result, what's the result? You've got a whole bunch of fighters who can't brand themselves, innit? Fighters can't brand themselves anymore, can they? Fighters can't brand themselves. Would you agree with that? Fighters have got difficulty branding themselves and making a real... Because that's what it is. It comes down to personality. KSI is a unique personality. Logan Paul is a unique personality. Salt Pappy is one of the most unique personalities anywhere right now. So people buy into them. They don't care about the boxing. They buy into the man long before they buy into the boxing. That's why it's doing so well. That's why it's getting so many views. That's why on DAZN, what is KSI on DAZN? Am I right in thinking he's one of the biggest draws on DAZN? Yes or no? KSI. Forget all this Matchroom stuff. KSI is one of the biggest flipping biggest things on DAZN, isn't it? Am I not lying? KSI, he's one of the biggest draws on DAZN. Now, he's up there with Canelo Alvarez in terms of bringing viewers to their channel, right? Well, that's for a reason, isn't it? That's for a reason. They buy into the characters. So these fighters, the fighters need to do a much better job of branding themselves and marketing themselves. Absolutely. But are the fans going to allow them to do that? What do you guys think? Are the fans going to allow them to do that? I don't know if the fans will allow these boxers to market themselves. We've seen O'Hara Davis try and market himself. The abuse he got was absolutely criminal. We've seen Prince Patel try to market himself. The abuse he got was absolutely criminal. Do you guys remember the abuse that Tyson Fury used to get before the Klitschko fight? Do you guys remember that? Press 7 if you remember, press 8 if you don't. Do you guys remember the abuse that Fury used to get before he beat Vladimir Klitschko? Before everybody started jumping on his ass and calling him the savior of mental health? Did you used to see the messages that this guy used to get in his inbox from people? I've seen messages out in public Twitter to Tyson Fury, right? I've seen people send messages openly, not even DMs, on social media directly to Tyson Fury, saying, your wife said this, your wife said W, you're this, you're that. They're bringing his family into it. It was some of the most personal stuff I've ever seen. They're bringing his family into it. They're bringing his father into it. They're saying the most disgusting things about his wife, Paris. They're saying disgusting things about him. Disgusting things about him. Even when he went to, even when he was nominated for British Sports Personality of the Year, some of the abuse I saw towards Tyson Fury was disgusting abuse. Why? What? Because he believed in himself. What? Because he always believed he was going to be world champion. Because he always believed he was the best boxer in the world. So they didn't like his confidence, right? So they tried to knock him down. Am I right or wrong, innit? That's what happened, isn't it? That's what happened, innit? And then as soon as he won, everybody started jumping on his balls. Is that not true? As soon as he beat Klitschko, people's tune started changing, didn't it? When they saw he was a winner, then they wanted to jump on board with the winner, didn't they? Because that's how people are in society. That's how people do. What do you think all this Matchroom stuff's about? What do you think all this Matchroom FC stuff's about? Can't you just see that? Matchroom FC is a bunch of glory hunters. Press 5 if you would agree with me on that. Press 6 if you disagree. Would you agree with me on that? Like, forget, I'm not having to go Eddie Hearn. I'm talking about Matchroom FC. I've always believed that Matchroom FC are just a bunch of glory hunters. Do you know what I mean? They see a guy who they perceive to be on top, right? They see a guy in Eddie Hearn who they believe to be on top, and they just want to ride the hot hand. It's just a bunch of glory hunters. Have you seen how the IFL TV comment section has changed in the last year or so? Have you seen how pro Frank Warren that IFL TV comment section has become in the last year or so? Have you not noticed that? Have you not noticed the strange turn of events on Frank Warren videos on IFL TV and across social media? Oh, Frank Warren's taking over. Frank Warren's taking over. Oh, do you know what? You know what? Frank Warren's always been a better promoter out of two. Can you see now? They just jump where the hot hand is, don't they? They just go on whoever's the hot hand. That's exactly, Keggy. He's Uncle Frank now, isn't he? It's funny how that's changed. People have mentioned that. It's funny how that's all changed. Exactly, Dench. 2 years ago, Frank was the worst. He couldn't do right. 2 years ago, Frank Warren's name. If you spoke Frank Warren's name on an IFL TV comment section, Jesus Christ. And all these videos would get thumbed down and people would say the most disgusting stuff about him. I think when Frank Warren had got COVID, right, I think there were people that were wishing that it got the better of him and stuff. But have you noticed now? Tyson Fury's had a couple of landmark wins. And all of a sudden, have you noticed now that the tide is changing? Because that's the mentality of these people who call themselves hardcore fans. That's the mentality of these people. All they actually do is just ride the hot hand. Because what they are is they're conformists. That's what they are. They're conformists. They don't like people who stand out. They don't like people who do something different, who say something different, who dress different, who carry themselves in a different way, who cut promos in a different way. They don't want that. They want conformity. That's what they want. Conformity. And a few of them think Eddie Hearn's in a bit of trouble now, so they're all jumping off the freaking gravy train now, because they realise that he might have bitten off a little bit more than he can chew with his own. So what are they doing now? Can you see? They're now hedging their bets. I'm not hedging my bets. I've never hedged my bets. I told people flipping donkeys ago. When it comes to building a stable of young talents, I'm not sure I trust Eddie Hearn, because he doesn't love the sport of boxing. He's not a real boxing man. Is he a great salesman? Absolutely. Is he a real boxing man? No, he's not. Is he a real boxing man? Is he going to stay up till 3 a.m. to watch fighters and fights that have nothing to do with him? Is he going to go to the small hall shows and try and identify talent and bring them through? Is he going to do that? I'm not sure he can. And I think we've seen that with the decline of the Matchroom stable. But that's another chat for another day. So we'll see with YouTube boxing. Something's changing, because some of the fighters are starting to make comments, and quite a few of the people are starting to make comments, and we're starting to see articles like this. Listen, I love Chris McKenna. I think Chris McKenna is one of the most credible boxing journalists in the UK. But I do think that certain people in boxing, their asses are beginning to twitch, aren't they? Because they're realising now that there's a new game in town. You know, when YouTube boxing first started, it was a bit of a joke, wasn't it? It still is a joke, let's be honest, right? It still is a joke. But it's becoming less of a joke by the day, isn't it? And you've got guys like Jake Paul that are now earning millions of dollars. You've got guys like KSI that are going to start making serious money. Maybe Salt Pappy's a guy who can make serious money. There is serious money available for some of these YouTubers who want to cross over. They've got big followings. These YouTubers aren't afraid to stand out. They're not afraid to be ridiculed. They don't care what people think of them. They're not afraid to get in the ring and get knocked out in front of 20,000 people. They're not afraid to come out. Have you seen these YouTubers? They're fearless, aren't they? A lot of them are fearless, aren't they? These are people that have got 1 million subscribers, 2 million subscribers, 3 million subscribers. Some of them are making millions and millions of pounds on social media. Some of them have got big Twitch channels. Some of them are making a lot of money in YouTube memberships, in Twitch memberships. But they don't care, do they? They'll actually get in front of a camera and get knocked, spark out in front of 5,000-10,000 people, and however many people are watching on pay-per-view, and they don't care, do they? Because they believe in themselves. They back themselves. Do you not think that these YouTubers back themselves? Let me ask you a question. These YouTubers, some of them, yeah? Some of them have got massive followings. Do they sit there and think, fuck, if I get knocked out in a round here, that's the end of my career. Like, no one's going to follow me on Twitter anymore. No one's going to follow me on YouTube. They don't care, do they? They go in there, they get knocked out in a round, no one cares. Do a video on YouTube the next day, get 1 million views. Do a video on Twitch and get another 100 Twitch memberships at fucking £15-20 a piece. They don't care. It doesn't affect them. They don't overthink it like these pro boxers do. And somebody mentioned, look, Fraser Clark. Sam said the irony of Fraser Clark calling out a mismatch. I love Fraser Clark to bitch, but Fraser Clark calling out mismatches after Ben Shalom literally went into the crowd and dragged somebody out of a queue and made him an opponent for Fraser Clark. Come on. Come on. Laughable, innit? Dencher's got it bang on. Nah. They're already made, in a sense, boxing is secondary to them. There you go. That's what these YouTubers are doing. That's what these YouTubers are doing. It isn't make or break for them, is it? For a lot of these YouTubers. It's not like a big make or break, is it? They've already got that sub money coming in. They've already got them super chats coming. They've already got them Twitch memberships. They've already got everything lined up. I think boxers could take a lot of notice. So in closing, what I would say is this. The problem is with the boxers because the boxers need to promote themselves and do a lot better job marketing themselves than what they're doing. The YouTubers do a far better job of marketing themselves. You know what? I want to go through this thread with you. This is Lyndon Arthur asking the question on Twitter today. I like Lyndon Arthur, right? But if I'm being 100% honest, I think Lyndon Arthur could do a little bit more. I like to see a little bit more of Lyndon Arthur's true personality. You know, look, I respect Lyndon Arthur as a boxer. I like Lyndon Arthur. But I'm sure there's a little bit more personality that he could show in his fights. Would you agree with me on that, or would you disagree with that? Like, I think now, in this new age, yeah, simply being good at boxing, I'm not sure that's going to cut the mustard. But then when has it ever cut the mustard? When has just being good at boxing ever been enough to cut the mustard? I mean, even if you go to the small hall shows, who are the guys that are doing the money? Big ticket sellers, isn't it? That's who promoters want in these small hall shows. They want big ticket sellers. It's not all about really the best boxers. A lot of these hardcore boxing fans who've never been in a boxing gym, they think that these promoters are creaming themselves, you know, at the small hall level over, you know, flipping defensive geniuses like, you know, some Devin Haney defensive genius comes along and wins every fight by decision. And they think these promoters are creaming in their pants. No, they want people who can sell tickets. They want people who can sell tickets. I would agree with you as well, John Smith. Yard and Tunde. What do you guys think about that? Tunde Ajayi. What's Tunde ever done wrong? Do you know how much stick Tunde gets? What's Tunde ever done to deserve the ridiculing that he gets amongst his boxing peers? What's he ever done? A couple of dodgy pad routines. That's all he's ever done, right? Tunde. A couple of dodgy pad routines, right? And look at the things that people say about Tunde. Why is that then? Why? Because he's confident. Because he believes in Anthony Yard. Because he believes Anthony Yard is going to be a world champion. Bizarre, isn't it? Let's have a look at this thread from Lyndon Arthur. Lyndon Arthur said, question. And you guys can respond to these to Lyndon Arthur's question and let me know what you think about this. Lyndon Arthur asked today, question. What's the reason you don't like YouTube boxing apart from most of them are not the best at boxing? Right? So what's your reasons for not liking YouTube? Because there's been a bit of a backlash at YouTube boxers, right? I think Linda's trying to say, what is your beef with YouTube boxing other than the fact that these guys aren't great boxers? Let's have a look at some of the answers and see. It makes a mockery of professionals who have done the hard yards from amateurs to professional, dedicated their life to the craft, by some content creator who have all the resource in the world to skip those same hard yards. Mate, this is stuff that goes on in boxing all the time. Again, anybody who knows anything about small halls, yeah, small hall shows, know promoters want guys who sell tickets. They don't just want the best boxers. You could come in, yeah, to a small hall show, yeah, and you could have Floyd Mayweather style defense and offense, yeah. But if the promoter needs to make money and you ain't selling tickets, there's going to be a problem. Press 1 if you agree, press 2 if you disagree. How many times have we seen it? Even at the lower levels of TV cards. How do you think guys like Dave Allen and that were getting so many opportunities? How do you think guys like Nathan Heaney are getting it? And I don't mind Nathan Heaney. But how do you think guys like Nathan Heaney are getting the opportunities that they're getting? How do you think guys like Josh Warrington got look at the opportunities that Josh Warrington has got. They get these opportunities because they got a massive following and a massive... Johnny Fisher! Jesus Christ! Does it get any better than that? Johnny Fisher. I mean, Johnny Fisher is like the patron saint, isn't he? Johnny Fisher is like the patron saint of a decent but not exceptional boxer who's got a disproportionate amount of TV time Because he sells a lot of tickets. I mean, that's all you ever hear about when you hear about Johnny Fisher, don't you? You never hear anything about Johnny Fisher's skill level, do you? All you ever hear about is, I'll tell you what, tonight, mate, he shipped about 6,000 tickets. He sold about 6,000 tickets, and I'll tell you something, I hope you all join Johnny on his big journey, because Johnny's going to go to Vegas, yeah, and we're going to go all the way. Romford Army. Am I lying or am I not lying? Bosh, Romford Army. Johnny Fisher out here flattening cab drivers left, right and centre. Nobody's talking about Johnny Fisher's boxing ability or his technique. All they talk about is, well, I'll tell you what, he sold 5,000 tickets tonight. Tell you what, the support was absolutely out. I'll tell you what, the support was out of this world. I'll tell you what, I'd like to thank everybody who came out tonight. You know, I'd like to thank everybody, you know, all the Romford Bulls that came out tonight, you know. My dad will be round for the next fight. My dad will be round in his fan and he'll be bringing his tickets around. I hope you all come out, you know. This is just the beginning of this journey. You know, this is just the beginning of this journey, you know. We're on the road to world titles. Bosh! Bosh! Let me ask you. No, I don't want Mark Tibbs to hear this because I do love Mark Tibbs. But I was going to ask you who's actually got more technical ability, Salt Pappy or Johnny Fisher? Generally, like, who do you think's got more actual technical ability in boxing, Salt Pappy or Johnny Fisher? Hand on heart, like, it's slagging off all these YouTubers, yeah. But who actually got more ability? Who's got better timing? Who's got better shot selection? Salt Pappy or Johnny Fisher? I don't know, man. Sometimes I'll be watching these YouTube cards. I'm not sure. I'll be watching these YouTube cards sometimes. I ain't sure, you know. I ain't sure. Look at it. Oh, look. Bosch TV. Wow, look at this. 49,000 views. Big John has a mega Chinese and a mega pint. 49,000 people spent their lives watching this. John Fisher, Kung Pao prawns is what put me in this position in the first place. And they're slagging off YouTube boxing. No lie. Professional boxers are slagging off YouTube boxing. And this is the fucking manure that they're giving you to work with. Big John Fisher on Bosch TV has a mega Chinese and a mega pie. Kung Pao prawns is what put me in this position in the first place. This is what British professional boxing has to offer at the minute. And they've got the fucking nerve to turn around and slag off YouTubers. And you're serving me up stuff like this. Are you for real? No, but are you serious about this? Are you serious? Let me carry on. More YouTube boxing means less proper boxing shows on TV. Well, let's be honest. There's been a lack of proper boxing for a good while in British boxing. Let's be honest, isn't it? Would you guys agree with that or not? More YouTube boxing means less proper boxing shows on TV. Well, listen, like, I've got to be careful what I say here, but I won't say it, but people are talking about the standard of boxing. I'm not going to say it. Let me move on from that. Right. White collar boxing, but making millions from it. When you have pros fighting all their lives and scrape by until they retire and have little other skills to earn a decent wage. Well, how is that the fault of fucking YouTubers? What do you guys think about this? White collar boxing, but making millions from it. When you have pros fighting all their lives and scrape by until they retire and have little other skills to earn a decent wage. Well, how is that the fault of the YouTubers? Let me say this in closing, right? Do you know how many guys I see in boxing gyms? What do you want to be? I want to be a fighter. Okay, roll eyes. What do you really want to be? Ultra, I want to be a fighter. Do you have a plan B? Do you have a plan B? No. All I want to do is be a fighter. I watched Mike Tyson when I was growing up, and ever since then, I wanted to be a fighter. Do you know how many fucking times I've heard this story in the gym? Have you ever heard the story in the gym? I know you've all heard it. How many times have you met the person in the gym who said the reason they got into boxing and they want to be a fighter for the rest of their fucking life because they started watching Mike Tyson as a kid? How many fucking times I've heard that story in the boxing gym? Do you know how many times I've rolled my eyes in the back of the head about this same old shit? Well, you watched Mike Tyson when you were a little kid, now you want to box. Mate, it's time to wake up. Wakey, wakey time. The odds of you becoming a pay-per-view level or the odds of you getting on TV are slim to none. That's the bottom line. Odds of you getting on TV are slim to none. Yeah? Go and do your GCSEs, go and do your A-levels, yeah? And get a career. And forget all this boxing bollocks. Because the majority of boxers don't make it. And Richard will know this. How many times, Richard, have we seen these dudes? And you think they're well off. They're all on Twitter. British champions, European champions, even some world champions. And you think they're well off, don't you? Because they be flossing a few cars on Instagram and you this and that. They are broke. Car is rented. Car paid for by sponsors. When they get chinned, yeah, clean for the first time, no more sponsors, no more money, nobody cares anymore. These so-called fans, the fans that were blowing smoke up your ass, all these hardcore boxing fans. You know when a boxer loses? These hardcore boxing fans are nowhere to be seen, you know. Do you know, let me quickly say one thing. Do you know the reason why I've been able to talk to certain fighters? Do you know how many fighters I've been able to talk to, right? Just by saying to them, no joke, how are you doing? Do you know that? Do you know how many professional fighters that I've been able to speak to or who will follow me on Twitter or who are willing to talk to me? Just because I've said to them when they're retired or when they're not even fighting, I've just said, how's things going? Are you all right? You okay? How's things going? Let me give you an example. Scott Cardle, who I love to pieces. I still check in with Scott Cardle every 4, 5, 6 months. I will send Scott Cardle a tweet. Scott, how's it going? How's the gym going? Because Scott Cardle set up his own gym and he's looking to set up some white collar fights. Scott, how's the gym going? How's your family? I don't even know the guy. Do you know why I do that? Because you know these hardcore I'm a hardcore fan because I spend all day on BoxRec. I've never been boxing gym in my life, but I spend all day talking about ticket sales and stadiums, and I look at BoxRec a lot. So I'm a hardcore boxing fan. As soon as these fighters are done, they never, ever, ever speak to these fighters again. Do you know that? They never hear from these so-called fans again. They never hear from them. They never hear from them no more, man. Press 1 if you agree, press 2 if you disagree. Do you think I've got a point there? These fighters never hear from it. It's crazy. This is why fighters find it so hard to adjust, yeah, when they quit boxing. They find it so hard to adjust because in the space of about 2 nanoseconds, they go from people blowing smoke up their ass, wanting to know what they're doing every moment of the day. And then as soon as they quit or take a loss or retire or something happens, these same so-called fans never, ever, ever speak to them or say another word to them again. They don't hear from them no more. And they don't know how to adjust back into real life, you know. They don't know how to do it. Because when they were winning, all of these arse riders who were talking about pay-per-view, look how many pay-per-view sales he done. When he loses, when he was winning, they were all coming up to him in the street. Oh, man, you're bigger. Do you know what? Let me tell you, the first time I went to Paddy Fitzpatrick's gym was to go and see George Groves. He was doing an open sparring session. It's the first time I ever met Paddy Fitzpatrick and the only time I've ever met George Groves. Went to go and watch George Groves do an open sparring session. And it's the first time I met Paddy. And it's the only time I met George. And I got my boots signed by George. And there was one guy who was there, and I never forget this guy. He was on Twitter. Of course he was on Twitter. He was your archetypal quote-unquote hardcore boxing fan. Never seen a gym in his life. Walked in a gym. You could tell just by looking at him, he'd never done any type of training. You could tell he never stepped in a boxing gym before because as soon as he stepped in the gym and saw George Groves, it was just... He was all over Groves like a rat. Oh my God, George Groves, you're my hero. Oh, you're my favourite boxer. You're so great. Can I get you all? Get there. And I remember, I don't know who it was. I don't know if it was Paddy or somebody else just said, Yo, bro, just chill out for a bit, chill out. We'll sign some stuff at the end of the session. We'll sign some stuff at the end of the session. We'll get to Georgia in the session. Just chill out. Do you know what I'm saying? Press 1 if you know what I mean. Press 2 if you think I'm talking rubbish. Do you know what I mean? Like, dude acting like he's never, ever been around. Like, never been in a gym in his life. Like, oh my God, George, you're my favourite fan. I'm such a big fan of you. Oh, like, he's in there 2 seconds. He's shooting his load, trying to get an autograph. Do you know how fucking embarrassing that stuff was? That's how these dudes behave. Until you take a loss. Until you take a loss. Do you think that guy is still tweeting George Groves to this day? George, how you doing? George, how's the family? George, what are you up to? George, how are you transitioning from life out of boxing? Do you think that so-called boxing, that so-called super fan, do you think after he got George Groves' autograph, do you think he ever heard another fucking, do you think George Groves ever heard another word from him again in his entire life afterwards? Course not. Course not. That's how these fans behave, bro. So these boxers just say, well, what's the point? What am I going to risk it for? What's the point? Why am I going to risk it? If you want me to get in the ring with somebody good, you're going to have to pay up. If you want me to get in the ring with somebody good, it's going to have to be worth my while. Because at the minute, the losses are just too big. I could lose my career. I could lose my fan base. I might walk down the street in the morning and people might not care about me anymore. People might not talk to me anymore. People won't give a shit about me anymore. People won't want to watch my fights anymore. This is all the stuff that goes through a fighter's head. But yeah, fighters need to have a plan B. All boxers need to have a plan B because the chances of you becoming a professional are slim to none. Or becoming a good anybody can become a professional. I could become a professional, right? Anybody can get a medical card or whatever, right? But the point is, right? If you want to be something in boxing, it's going to be slim. So it's not the YouTubers' fault that they're out there marketing themselves and they're doing things on social media and they've got a load of side hustles. But the boxers, and we see it so often in the gym, the boxers are the ones who put everything into boxing. They put all their eggs into one basket, whereas the YouTubers are diversifying. Well, you can't blame the YouTubers for that. So what do you guys think? Let's get your final comments in. What do you guys think? Let me give you one more example. And then we'll call it a day on this show. It was only supposed to be an hour and I've made it a bit too long. Can I just say, somehow we've got 93 people here. We started at 28 and we've got 93 in the middle of the night. I really appreciate that. If you could all do me a favor and hit the like button, that'd be fantastic. First real show of the year. If you could all hit the like button, I'd agree. Let me talk about the topic because I don't want this video to be clickbait this year, right? Big fights that need to happen this year, which I don't think are going to happen. Fury versus Usyk. Let me start with that one. I don't think that fight's going to happen next. That's just my feeling. No inside information whatsoever. I just don't think Fury and Usyk will happen next. That's my opinion, and I want you to take my word on that. I don't believe Fury versus Usyk will happen next. I think Fury's going to get surgery or something's going to happen and he's going to end up fighting somebody else. So that's what I think. I don't think Fury versus Usyk is going to happen next. That's my opinion. Something somewhere will get in the way. So I don't think Fury versus Usyk is going to happen, but it is what it is. The second thing I think as well, quickly saying, is this. Anthony Joshua's going to be involved in a fight. There you go. Dench beat me to it. Anthony Joshua's going to be involved in a fight that's likely not going to be against a big opponent. I mean, look, to me, Anthony Joshua needs a tune-up. And he is absolutely entitled to a tune-up, in my opinion. I've got no problem with Anthony Joshua having a tune-up. But get ready for Jermaine Franklin. I don't believe the Dempsey McKean stuff. Surely not. They're surely not going to let Anthony Joshua get in a ring with Dempsey McKean because, jeez, I mean, he would get Dempsey McKean out of there 1 or 2 rounds. McKean is not even remotely on the same level as Anthony Joshua. Not even remotely on the same level. I mean, Jermaine Franklin, it is what it is, but I don't know. I don't think we're going to see Fury versus Usyk. It looks like AJ is going to be fighting somebody that's, it is what it is. He's had a couple of losses, so obviously he needs time to come back. So Anthony Joshua's first fight at the beginning of the year ain't going to be against a stellar opponent, which by me is absolutely fine. It looks like this Gervonta Davis versus Ryan Garcia bullshit is off as well. For anybody who still cares. I mean, I don't really care about this stuff. Do you know what I mean? I don't really care. But for anybody who still gives a shit, Gervonta Davis versus Ryan Garcia, that's looking OFF, because Oscar De La Hoya is saying we still haven't received the contract and you need to send it in 24 hours, otherwise this fight's off, blah, blah, blah. Cue a whole bunch of videos talking about PBC, Al Heyman, Golden Boy. I don't care. I don't care. So, yeah. Errol Spence versus Terence Crawford. Probably doesn't look like it will happen this year. Me personally, I don't care. I don't care. Would I like to see the fight? Absolutely. For me, Errol Spence versus Terence Crawford is the biggest fight in boxing. Just for me personally. I'm not talking about ticket sales. I don't spend my time counting how much money other people make. I'm just saying, for me personally, that's my biggest fight of the year, Crawford and Spence. You've got two elite guys at their absolute peaks. Like, for me, that's a hell of a fight. Will it happen this year? I don't think so. So, look, it ain't looking promising. Is it? It ain't looking promising. It ain't looking promising. But I still think that if boxing fans were a little bit more like UFC fans, I always use the UFC. I think it's a great example of, you get beat in the UFC, you get beat. Great. You come back, you fight again. Innit? Stipe Miocic, right? Stipe Miocic got beat. Who beat Miocic? Was it Cormier? I don't even watch UFC. Who beat Stipe Miocic when he was undefeated or some bullshit, or when he was the champion? Was it Cormier who beat him or something? Right? And then he came back. Did people say Miocic is a bum? He's trash. He's rubbish. Did we see a bunch of articles or a bunch of videos on IFL TV saying shit like, where does Stipe Miocic go now? Was Stipe Miocic a fraud all along? Where does he go from now? Have you ever noticed that? Can I just say that? Have you ever noticed in boxing that any time a top fighter loses a fight, do you notice that in the Sunday morning after the fight, have you ever noticed on the Sunday morning after the fight, you see a bunch of stupid ass videos? First thing on a Sunday morning going, where does he go from now? Here, let me give you one more example. When Anthony Joshua lost to Usyk, should he retire from boxing? What? What? Should he what? Retire for what? Do you remember that? When he first lost, do you remember when he first lost to Andy Ruiz? And people were saying that Anthony Joshua might have to retire from boxing if he loses the rematch to Ruiz. What? Retire? In the prime of his career? Because he lost to one man after being unified champion of the world and one of the biggest earners in the sport of boxing. Why the fuck would he retire for? Why would he do that? But boxing's the only sport where we have these stupid conversations. Do you know, where does he go from here? Oh my God, he took a loss to one guy. It's the end of the world. Where does he go from here? Is he going to have to retire now? Where does he go? Do you know what I mean? That's how stupid boxing fans are. UFC fans don't give a shit. Yeah, he lost. So what? He come back. And they get the rematch on. And that's it. Simple as that, innit? Yeah, Chevin, where does he go? Back to his yacht in Spain, exactly. I'll read your comments. Jay Dre says, with all due respect, Tyson too smart to ever get in the ring with Usyk. Wilder is the only one who has a chance of Usyk. And then if Tyson Fury does get in the ring and does beat Usyk, then there'll be a new bogeyman. Then there'll be, but Fury didn't fight Hrgovic, and Hrgovic is the new El Animal killer who's knocking out everybody under the sun, and he is now the most dangerous man on the planet. Even though Zhang almost knocked him senseless in their fight, that doesn't count now. If Fury beats Hrgovic, then I'll agree he's the best heavyweight of his era. But he got to beat Hrgovic. And then if he beats Hrgovic, it'll be some other bullshit name will come out, and it'll be, he's got to beat this guy. Well, I'm not going to give him his respect yet because he needs to. And that's the way it always goes. There's always somebody else. Can't just fucking turn around and say, do you know what? I'm just going to give it to the guy. The guy's a heavyweight champion of the world. It is what it is. He's the heavyweight champion of the world. I'm just going to give him his props. It's always going to be somebody else. In April of last year, it was White. He's never going to fight Dillian White because he's running from the Dillian White left hook. So dangerous. Dillian White magical left hook is so dangerous that Tyson Fury is going to vacate the title instead of fighting Dillian White. Oh my God, did you see Fury's eyes? He looked shook. Oh my God, he looked shook at the weigh-in. Oh, and then we saw a million videos. We even saw a video on YouTube that said why Dillian White has a better chin than Tyson Fury. Didn't we? And then what happened after April? What happened after April? Has anybody ever mentioned Dillian White's name since? Finding that, what happened to all those arse riders for Dillian? They all disappeared now, innit? On to the next one. There'll always be another name. There'll always be another name, mate. It'll never be enough, mate. Been down this road with the whole Mayweather-Pacquiao thing. Boring, boring, boring. Final comments. Oh, I was right. It was Cormier. Oh, yeah. Crazy D3. Taylor versus Catterall 2. That's going to be a good fight. A very, very good fight. Head says... Hart says Taylor's gonna win that fight. But Head says Catterall just might have his number. Just think Catterall might have his number, to be honest. I know Taylor didn't take it. It could be Groves versus Froch all over again, couldn't it? It could be Groves versus Froch 2 all over again. Taylor wasn't really switched on the first time. He's going to be switched on the second time. But I just think the angles that Catterall shows Taylor, Southpaw versus Southpaw, the way he rolls his shoulder and covers against some of the body shots of Taylor, I think Catterall's kind of might have his number. That's my opinion. I think Catterall might have his... I don't think it's a simple case of, oh, Josh Taylor just came in and switched off. Catterall hurt him and dropped him as well, to be honest. So I just think the way Catterall fights, the angles he shows him, his length, his reach, the way he gets behind the jab, and the way he rolls his shoulder and turns into that shell, particularly against some of the body shots that Taylor likes to throw. So the angles he shows him, the way he slips, rolls, the way he angles out, but then the way he turns that shoulder, because we know Taylor likes to grind fighters down with body shots, doesn't he? He likes to grind fighters down a lot, rough on the inside, heads, arms, elbows, and he loves to whip in that body shot. So he was finding it very, very difficult to get off his shots to the body against Catterall. Southpaw versus Southpaw is always tricky because people seem to forget, yeah, again, no disrespect, but as a left-hander who's not a boxer but goes to the gym and spars, right? As a left-hander, left-handers also suffer against other left-handers because we don't fight left-handers often. Does that make sense? We fight right-handers all the time, but we don't fight left-handers. So when you ever see left-handers get in a ring of left-handers, it also becomes very, very awkward. Here's an example. If you look at Gervonta Davis and Garcia, I thought Gervonta was bossing the fight, to be honest, yeah? I thought Gervonta was bossing that fight, to be honest. I don't know, I know people are making the case he was losing that fight. To me, particularly in that last 2 rounds, he really started to get on top of him. But it was very cagey early on, and it's cagey when you've got 2 left-handers in there. 2 left-handers, it becomes very, very cagey, not always used to the angles. Haven't really fought that many other left-handers in professional boxing, and the angles change. You spend most of your time dealing and dealing with your setups for right-handers, getting your lead foot to the outside, trying to set up the left hand, slipping certain shots in certain ways. It all reverses itself. You have to do the inverse when you're fighting a southpaw, and you can see Gervonta had to fight a very, very different way. Not a different way, but you have to be a bit more, walk into a high guard, get up close, and try and fire the left hand over Garcia's left hand. I'll go through it another day. But see, these southpaw fights get very cagey. Another good fight is Luis Ortiz and Charles Martin. Prime example. Luis Ortiz, incredibly effective against right-handers. You see what happened when he got in the ring of a southpaw. Had a lot of trouble working at the angles. He had a lot of trouble setting up his left hand against, the southpaw. Because at southpaws, what we tend to do is try to move, to our right-hand side and get our foot on the outside to set up the left hand. But you can't do that against a left-hander. Because against a left-hander, if you step to your outside, you're walking into the opponent's left hand. I think I've got that wrong. No, I've got that right. I've got that absolutely right. And I would have that right because I've done it myself. I've been in the gym. So you might have to start moving in different directions. That makes sense. So when you're fighting orthodox, they always say, move to your right, get your lead foot on the outside, try and set up the left. If you're a southpaw fighting a southpaw, if you step to your right, the same way you would do against an orthodox, you move into the power hand. You're moving into the left hand. So you can't move the same way that you move when you're fighting an orthodox. Or you can, but it becomes a little bit more tricky to get your shots off. It becomes very, very difficult to get the lead left hand off against another left-hander. And that's what you see in these fights, a lot of these fights. And you see Gervonta fall short with a lot of left hands early on in his fight against Garcia. So he had to walk him up, walking close, high guard, walking close, and start body to head. Very clever the way he set up his shots. Uppercut to the body, hook to the body, finish up top to the head. Anyway, that's a conversation for another day. Somebody asked me about Eddie Hearn's comments about Gervonta Davis. I'm not really bothered about that. I think it's a storm in a teacup. I know some people are trying to play the kind of race angle. It wasn't the smartest comment in the world from Eddie Hearn, but I don't think Eddie Hearn had any sort of racial intentions when he made that comment. He said it was taken out of context. It's just another classic case of Eddie Hearn just running his mouth and getting involved in business that don't really involve him. But I don't think there was anything malicious towards Gervonta Davis. But certain sections of social media are quite racialized, aren't they? And they'll use anything to make a case for it. But well, I don't know. What do you guys think about it? I didn't think there was anything significant or racist in what Eddie Hearn said. I mean, Eddie Hearn can't be a racist, can he? He claims he had Conor Benn crying on the floor, pleading his innocence only a couple of months ago, and he chose to believe Conor Benn, right? Because he believes. Anyway, let me get off that. Because if I carry on talking about that, I'm going to be in trouble. Right? Has anybody else got anything to say before they hold their peace? Any final comments? If you'd like to be part of the chat, please subscribe. Please feel free to hit the like button. We could do with the likes. I really appreciate the support. Well, mind you, we've had about 90 to 70 people here all night, and we've only had 36 likes. Bloody hell. I mean, at least you can do is hit the like button a couple of times. It's bad enough. You know, the numbers aren't really amazing, really, but at least you can do is hit the like button a bit. Do you know what? In closing, I've been thinking, I don't know if I will, but there's an off chance, if you're into football, I might do live coverage of Manchester United versus Barcelona on the 16th of February from the Nou Camp. If anybody's interested in football, I will see how it goes. It will be a last minute decision. But if anybody's into their football, we might try and do something for February the 16th. I've basically meant to do a new sort of presentation for the show. Some new memes, some new outlays, a couple of new things, right? So we're kind of actually really still in 2022 mode. I'm supposed to be sprucing up a few things for 2023. But if anybody's interested in the soccer, I don't know, I'd be quite interested in doing that. Randy Marsh says, I think when it comes to the pound for pound list, the people who are in that list should fight each other if they want to keep their spot. Come on, you're right, agree, press nothing. Pound for pound is just... It's painful, isn't it? The whole pound for pound list. What do you think? Do you guys think, like... Can I ask you guys a question? Do you guys think it's a sign that something's maybe not quite right with somebody when they spend a copious amount of time arguing about who's number 1 to 10 in order in some mythical bullshit list? No, but I'm genuinely asking, right? Just let me know what let me know what you think. Do you guys think that? Again, part of the problem is we just pay a little bit too much attention to a bunch of BS that doesn't really matter. I could be wrong on that, but what do you think? It's bizarre, isn't it? Like, it's bizarre. Like, the fact that you would spend an hour, 2 hours, 3 hours on social media debating who is pound for pound number 1 to 10. That's not a you personally, Randy Marsh. You understand? It's not a you personally. I'm just saying. Do you know what I mean? But haven't you got better things to do with your time than worry about who's pound for pound number 1 in boxing? I mean, it's just so stupid. The amount of thought that goes into these stupid lists. No disrespect, though. What do you guys, if you disagree, disagree. But do you not think that too much thought goes into these stupid lists? And do you not think fighters give these stupid lists too much credence? Do you not think? I think fighters give this crap too much credence. Pound for pound list, let it all go to their head. I've seen fighters arguing. I've literally seen fighters arguing with Mike Coppinger and ESPN over their pound for pound list. Well, when are you going to give me some credit? Why am I not number 1? Why am I not top 10? When are you gonna give me credit? Was it one of the Charlos who was doing that? Why am I not on the list? Arguing with Mike Coppinger over why you're not on the ESPN pound for pound list. Why do you care about the opinions of people who literally can't lace gloves? Genuine question. I'm not saying you can't have an opinion on boxing. See, I'm not saying that. I'm not saying you can't have an opinion on boxing unless you've been in the ring. I'm saying, why do fighters give so much credence to these people? Why are you worried about Mike Coppinger's pound for pound list? Why are you guys worried about what Steve Kim from Ring Magazine thinks of? No disrespect, but come on. These guys are never in the gym, right? Right? No disrespect, right? But these guys aren't in the gyms, right? You go in the gym and you don't see these people in the gym, right? You see them on a computer looking at box rec. Why do you care? Fighters paying too much credence. They're arguing with these people. Why am I not pound for pound number 1? Why am I not number 10? Why am I not in this? Listen, it's a list made. You do get a few journalists out there, like I said before, who I think are credible. I'll be honest with you, I don't agree with anything he says. I think Michael Montero is as credible as it gets in the current pool of journalists because he's one of the very, very few. He's one of the 1% that actually will put a head guard in and take a punch. So even though I don't agree with a lot of what he says, I've got respect for Michael Montero. He's one of the 1% of guys that will write about something in Ring Magazine and then he'll go and put his head guard on and he'll get in the ring. So I've got time for people, but for most of these journalists, why do we care? Like, what do you guys think about that? Jay Dre says, pound for pound is just magazine bullshit. When Iron Mike was the best, he was the best, we all knew. I mean, why are we fucking, giving all this fucking shit credence? Do you know what I mean, innit? It's like with all these stupid belts, innit? Giving them power to all these fucking belts. Whoa, I got the belt. Who's the real champion? He's WBA interim. He's WBA fucking Akin Saltfish. Who gives a shit? Who gives a shit? He's WBA Akin Saltfish. He's WBA fried dumplings and goat curry. He's WBA regular chili con carne. Who gives a shit? The fighters fucking sitting there giving these journalists too much credit. What do you guys think? I think some of these athletes are giving these journalists too much credit. I personally think Tyson Fury should never ever pick up the phone to Ring Magazine again. That's my opinion. That's my opinion. Ring Magazine ringing him up. Oh, Tyson, are you retired? Yeah, I'm retired. Oh, well, we're going to strip you of the belt. When everybody knew he wasn't retired. So you... and then saying, oh, well, he's back now, so we'll make him number... I mean, what the fuck were they doing? Do you remember that? That bullshit, that debacle. And then they had what? They had Terence Crawford. Do you remember when they had Terence Crawford above Errol Spence in the welterweight rankings? And they've recently, I think they changed that back now. They've now made Spence number 1. I mean, what the fuck are these idiots? Just nerds. Which is fine. They can have their opinion, but the fighters make the mistake of reading this shit and buying into it. You know my opinion on this. Have you been in the gym? No. Please go and talk to somebody else. Because I don't want to hear it. That's why people don't want... I'm just being real with it. Have you been in the gym? Well, look, I ain't been in the gym, but I know a lot about resin. Please. I don't want to hear that shit. Please. Go and take it somewhere else. I don't want to hear that nonsense. Right. Blah, 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 blah. Guys. Guys. Take care of yourselves and take care of each other. These YouTubers, listen. Let me quickly say one last thing. I forgot to say this. And Chris McKenna's right about this. Sorry, I'm taking so long. I've got to say this. The one flip side of YouTube boxing, I forgot to mention this. The one thing about YouTube boxing is this. Good point from Leon Cordell. Well, for the same reason you described about fighters having massive egos is the reason why they take... Yeah, I agree, Leon. You're probably right. Absolutely. I will agree with Chris McKenna on one thing. YouTube boxing, they are going to get... someone's going to get hurt. It's only a matter of time. And I will say that. Would you guys agree with that? That's the one thing I will say. If you're one of these people that wants to see an end to YouTube boxing, yeah? Or if if you don't want to see these YouTubers get too much shine, I will say one thing. A catastrophe is definitely coming around the corner in YouTube boxing. Because some of these people that are getting in the ring and are fighting, yeah? They've got no business being in the ring. And I'm not talking about guys like Salt Pappy. Salt Pappy is just... I don't even consider Salt Pappy a YouTube boxer. He's a seasoned proper boxer to me. He had like 60 amateur fights and stuff. He had like 60 amateur fights in the Philippines. He's been fighting since he was 9. Salt Pappy's legit. Even Jake Paul. I think Jake Paul is a legit fighter. Whether you like him or not, I think he's a legit fighter. Logan Paul went the distance with Floyd Mayweather Jr. Look, it is what it is. You have to give these people some degree of props that they're athletes, right? So it's not even these guys, but some of these YouTube fights that are happening at the lower levels, they are like fucking hell. I mean, I've got to be careful I've got to be careful what I say. There's one fight in particular that I want to highlight. I'm a bit worried about YouTube, but let me put it this way. There was one fight involving somebody that was quote unquote vertically challenged. And Jesus Christ, I'll be honest with you, yeah? Somebody's going to get fucking... It's only a matter of time, innit, before somebody gets laid out. Because boxing's dangerous, mate. It's fucking dangerous. It just takes one shot. One shot is all it takes in a bad spot. One clash of heads, one shot. One shot in the right spot. And you guys can get switched off. Tony says, I doubt the YouTubers will get hurt. They are fighting people on the same level as them, so it's hard for shit to hurt shit. Normally just leaves you with more shit, which is easy to clean up. I think we're going to see a catastrophe in the ring in one of these fights, It might not be a big fight between like a KSI and a Logan Paul, but I think on some of these low-level fights, I think somebody's going to end up getting hurt, Just takes one shot. One wrong bad shot. Because some of these fights is like, I'm like, I'll be honest with you, particularly in regards to some of the female fights that I'm seeing. I'm seeing some of the opposition there, innit? And I'm thinking, fucking hell, how did you get in the ring? Do you know what I mean? No disrespect, but not being sexist, but I'm looking at some of these fights and some of these opponents are looking rather overmatched. So we'll see. I do think that they need to... We need to be a bit careful. In closing, my targets for the year, health permitting, my health is dreadful at the minute, but if by some kind of miracle my health did get significantly better, one of my resolutions for this year is actually to go to an actual ABC a lot more. I'm going to try to get away from training around white collar gyms and white collar boxers. I'm going to try and make more of an effort to be in an ABC around proper seasoned amateur fighters and coaches. I don't know how I'm going to do that quite yet. It's not going to be now. At the minute, I'm trying to get fit. I was in the gym today. I was in the gym yesterday. So I'm in the gym. I went to the gym a couple times last week. So I'm starting to get back in the gym a lot more regular. In the minute, I'm just trying to build some muscle, which I don't have much of at the minute, but I'm just trying to build a bit of muscle and build a bit of durability. I've figured out the reason why I'm so chinny, by the way. The reason why I believe I'm so chinny is because I've got no neck muscle. That's the reason why. I've actually got quite a decent, not muscly neck, but you can tell I do something, right? But I don't actually have any strength in my neck muscles, and I think that's the reason why I'm so chinny. So when I'm taking a punch and the impact is, I'm almost getting the fucking whiplash go right through my neck, and it's making me go unsteady. So I need to do a load of neck shrugs and do something else. So that's what I need to do. But my New Year's resolution is to probably actually get away from some of this white collar boxing, because some of the things that I've been hearing in my gym are a bit disturbing, very disturbing. Ari, I can't tell you the story because of YouTube, but if I told you the story that I heard in the gym last week about a mismatch in it was female boxing, and it was a girl having a fight on a white collar show, and she was put in the ring with somebody she should never ever have been in a ring with. If this girl had actually told her story to the fucking local news, this would have made the news 100%. It's one of the most disturbing stories I've ever heard, and I've been in gyms for about 10 years, which is not a very long time, but I've been in gyms for 10 years, right? And I've been around professional fighters for some of that. And it's just one of the most disturbing stories I've ever heard. And it's completely turned me off and away from white collar boxing. And I've been one of the biggest sort of advocates for it, to be honest. Because I've always believed, look, doesn't matter if you're amateur or pro, you're good or you're not, innit? That's what, listen, Lennox Clark was a white collar boxer. He knocked out Willie Hutchinson stone cold. And Willie Hutchinson was a world level amateur fighter, right? So the bottom line of it is you're good or you're not. Going to an ABC don't make you a good fighter, right? You're either good or you're not good, right? I know plenty of white collar fighters who would smash up people that I know in some ABCs. Having said that, I believe now for me that I would like to sort of get away from it a little bit, this white collar scene for a bit. I haven't had a fight, but I spend a lot of time sparring lightly with people who are about to have fights. So I'm sparring with a guy who's having a fight in February. Sparring with another guy who's having a fight in February. So, you know, I do try and help out the guys, but I think that, yeah, for me, I want to get away from white collar because I'm just some of the things that I'm starting to see and some of the things I'm starting to hear, it's not very ethical. You know, the matchmaking isn't very ethical, you know? And for me, certain organizations seem to be very, very sort of blasé about people putting their fucking lives on the line. Because people think, and that's, I'll leave it at that. People think, oh, you wear 16 ounce gloves, then nothing will happen. You're fucking crazy. You're crazy. Oh, we're wearing 16 ounce gloves and a head guard. Nothing will happen. You are fucking nuts. It's dangerous. Anyway, apologise for yapping on. It's been a very, very long show. Hopefully, if we still have a YouTube channel in a couple of weeks' time, I owe Ingram that show that I promised him. I owe Joe Gallagher that apology that I promised him. So that'll be coming up. And I'll probably try and do some snazzy intros and spruce up the channel a bit and try and do some things. I actually do want to get a little bit more serious about this this year, but that will be health permitting. Take care of yourselves and each other. Please hit the like button. If you want to be part of the chat, please subscribe. Take care.